Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. As I said in my video last month that my channel is changing a little bit this year and I'm just doing monthly wrap-ups. So this video is my January 2024 wrap-ups. I was fortunate to read 5 books this month and there were some great books and some not so great books. I suspect my not so great book will be a controversial opinion because I think it is a very popular book that people love, but it just wasn't for me. So the first book I read was When We Fell Apart by Wiley. I gave it a 4 out of 5. So the premise of this book is we meet Min, who is a Korean American, and he's an expat working in Seoul, South Korea. He meets and dates a university student, and her name is Yujin, and they start dating, and they're having a great time. But then one day he finds out that she committed suicide, and it's just kind of shocking to him. And this book kind of talks about I guess it talks about how when you meet people, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You may not know other aspects of their life, and the pressure of living to your parents' expectations, society's expectations, your friends around you, and if it's worth it to just suck it up for X amount of time, or is it better to just end it all? It's a very, I don't know, this book, I feel like maybe it's not for everyone, but for me it was just very nostalgic because I lived in Seoul for 2 years, 10 years ago. So this author did a really good job naming things specifically in Seoul, like neighborhoods or things that you do day to day life. And I really just enjoyed this book, and it made me really think about what you hear about Korean culture and a lot of pressure that young people get, and the reality of the pressure that society and parents put on their kids. And yeah, it was a really great book. Made me think a lot. It's definitely a sadder and heavier book though. The next book I read is called Counterfeit by Kirsten Chen. I gave this a 2 out of 5. The premise of this was fun, however, I felt the writing was a bit meh. It's a unique premise. Basically, it follows 2 women who are former university friends slash roommates. One of them became a lawyer, she's married to a doctor, she has a young kid, she has followed all the expectations XYZ of life, and she's, successful. And then the other friend, Winnie, who she knew from university, comes back into life and it kind of gives her a business opportunity. And the business opportunity that Winnie presents Ava, the successful friend, is the the idea of counterfeit luxury bags. So what happens is basically you go and buy a luxury bag, and then the week or month later you return it with a counterfeit bag, and then so now you have the original, which you can sell secondhand to someone else for real money. So this book kind of is fun, but as I said, the premise is fun, but the characters fell flat for me, and the writing was kind of choppy. But I thought it was quite fun, but I wasn't like, oh, this book is great. The next book I read is Don't Forget to Write by Sara Goodman Confino. I gave this book a 5 out of 5, which I was very surprised by. I saw this book on Goodreads, and I think one of the first reviews I saw, which probably helped me give this book a good review, was it said, don't read the premise of this book, just go in blind. So I went in totally blind, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm not going to spoil too much about this book either, in case you want to read it and also want to be pleasantly surprised. So this book, I really enjoyed it because it's a peek into Jewish culture, into Eastern USA of a certain time period, the 60s, and it's just something that I never had exposure to. It was really fun to learn about this part of, I guess, cultural history, and what it means to be a woman back then. Makes me feel so grateful to be a woman in the 2020s, and the book starts and ends at very different places, and the characters in it, I just didn't expect the character development or the character reveal, and it was just an all-around very pleasant book. I also enjoyed, because the book was set in the 60s, that it touches on quite heavy topics like racism and same-sex marriage and that kind of stuff. I don't want to say heavy as in oh, you don't want to talk about it, but I feel like the book does a really good job talking about these topics, but still keeping it light and also emphasizing how, right now in modern time, we've advanced so far since then. The next book I read is Hello Beautiful by Napolitano, and I gave it an easy 5 out of 5. This book is just one of those stories that, is totally up my alley. It's a story that spans multi generations. You follow several characters through their life from childhood to their later years, and we follow four sisters. And this book is kind of like a modern take or modern spin on Little Women, which I haven't read yet, but because of this book, I will read. And we follow four sisters, and their lives are so intertwined, and things that draw them together but draw them apart. And again, I don't really want to like spoil it. I just feel it's worth reading, but I just really enjoy getting lost in these people's lives and the complexities of being human and all these interpersonal relationships. Some people in my book club didn't enjoy this book because they felt that all the characters were awful. I will admit, characters aren't people you really want to root for, but you can really understand why they're acting the way they do. And I love this book. Lots of heartbreaking moments. I will say I did give it a 5, but it is like a longer book, so there were moments that kind of dragged. And the last book I read this month, which I feel my opinion may be controversial, is World War Z by Max Brooks. I unfortunately gave this one a 5. I do want to preface that I'm not really into zombie apocalypse movies, TV shows, and books. This was also a work book club book. So one reason why I really appreciate book clubs is it challenges me to read books that aren't really in my like radar. I can see why this book is good for people who like this type of genre, but for me, I just didn't enjoy it. I think, with the previous review I had for Hello Beautiful, I just love following stories and characters and development. And, World War Z, it's a great book in the sense that it's a very great history book of a non-real historical event. So basically, World War Z is a journalist who interviews people who were affected by this zombie apocalypse that happens on Earth, and from all these different countries and all these different viewpoints. So the book is really good because it seems like, oh, if this actually happened and he interviewed all these people, these are like real life stories of these people's interactions with all of these zombies. However, for me, for a book to enjoy, I just didn't enjoy it because I didn't really follow any characters. I felt like I was reading like a history book of a non-true history event, and it was just very blah for me. I didn't love it. I wish I did, but I didn't, and I feel bad because I know it's a very popular book. I did watch the movie after, and I will say the book is better than the movie. The movie was crazy because if you read the book and then watched the movie, like if the zombies were actually like how they were in the movie, the world wouldn't survive. Like we would die right away. I do enjoy the zombies in the book because I felt they were like a realistic, more manageable portrayal of if humans were to like beat zombies. So yeah. Thank you for watching at the end of my monthly wrap up for January 2024. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you think about them down below. And as always, if you have any recommendations, please also comment down below. And I'll see you guys next month. Bye.